What's up, guys? This is KYKS again, and today we're looking at shape layers in Adobe After Effects. In the previous episodes, we have been looking at shape layers but not explaining them, for example, circles and rectangles, and today I want us to look at them in detail. So let's begin. I'm going to start by creating a composition. I'm going to call it composition, and it's going to be for 2 seconds and 1920 by 1080 pixels. So let's create it. So we have created the composition. So shape layers are so important in Adobe After Effects in a way that they are easy to render than you importing external components, for example, from Photoshop and Illustrator and other external editors. I'm not saying it's bad to import, but I'm saying it is easier to render these inbuilt shape layers because they are of a small size. So if you open your Adobe After Effects, when you go to the tool section here, tool panel, and if you cannot see the tool panel, you go to your window and look for the tools part here, and they'll bring for you the tool section. So we are going to be using the rectangle tool. So if you click and if you press and hold, they'll bring for you the different options: rectangle tool, rounded tool, ellipse tool, polygon star tool, and so forth. So you can select any of these that you want, or you can click letter Q on your keyboard. And when you look at this section here, if I keep on pressing Q, you can see that the shapes are changing. It brings for me the star tool, the rectangle tool. So when you keep on pressing it, letter Q, it cycles around and chooses for you. You can select the one that you want. So we're going to start with the rectangle tool. So when you click and select the rectangle tool, come to your composition, you press and drag, and it creates for you the shape that you want. So when you create a shape in our timeline panel here, you can see that it has already created a layer for a shape layer 1. So every time you create a shape layer, it creates a layer in our timeline. So this is a rectangle, this is a rectangle, and our rectangle has a height that is longer than the width. So if we want to create a perfect square, we are going to use we're going to create another layer, shape layer. We're going to use a rounded rectangle, and we come and drag our rectangle. So right now it's not a perfect square, but if you want to create a perfect square, you click shift on your keyboard. You can see that when I click shift on my keyboard, it creates a perfect square. If I release, it creates a rectangle. If I click, it creates a perfect square. Even if I increase or reduce, the height and the width are the same. So that's using shift and creating a perfect model or perfect shape that you want. So here, this is the first one we created with a longer height. This one is with a perfect square or shape with the same height and width. So now we are going to also look at another shape layer called the Eclipse Tool, or I call it the circle. If I come and drag, you can see that it's not a perfect circle. If I click shift on my keyboard, it creates for me a perfect and a perfect circle. So if I want to shift this perfect circle, I will click the space bar on my keyboard and I will shift it the way it is. And I can also reduce it while pressing shift to get the perfect shape, and the clicking space bar on your keyboard to move it to any position that you want. So the space bar helps you shift it to any position that you want, and it remains in a perfect shape while pressing your shift key. So now we have created the third shape. Now we're heading for another shape, which is the star tool. The same things. You create, drag, press shift on your keyboard. If you press shift on your keyboard, it creates for you a perfect star, and you can press space bar and you shift it to the location that you want it to be in your composition. So here we have shifted it. And another quality or another effect you can do, you see this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pointed shapes around it. If you want to increase these shapes, on your keyboard you have the left arrow, right, top and bottom. You use the top arrow key on your keyboard. As you see, if I keep on clicking on it, the pointed parts keep on increasing. If I click on my bottom arrow on my keyboard, it reduces the pointed parts on my star tool. You see, you can increase and reduce. Hope you have understood. In order for you to understand it well, so right now we have created our 4 layers. Let's create another layer. Let's use another tool to explain it more. Polygon tool. If I come and I press shift and I create a perfect polygon tool, space bar tool to move it here. If I let me do it again. If I come and create one, press shift, move it, reduce it to where I want it, and if I click the arrow, top arrow on my keyboard, you see that the sides keep on increasing. If I click my bottom arrow on my keyboard, the direction bottom arrow on my keyboard, the down arrow, it will reduce the shapes or the shapes around it, or the curves. You can call them curves. So you can also use it on a polygon tool. So that's a very important one to learn. Right now we have created 5 of them. If you want to shift them, you use the selection tool, or press V on your keyboard and position them where you want them to be. So we have created our 5 I think they are our 5 shape layers from our tool window. And the next thing that we can look at is changing color. So we can change color of these shape layers, select them, come to fill here, and you can choose, click on fill, double click on it, or they can bring for you the different. You can change the colors. Let's change the color of our polygon. You can see that I can come and you click, double click, and select the color that you want. So all these things you can change the colors. The next thing we can look at is the stroke. For example, on our square here, the stroke is always the boundary of our shape. So that's the boundary of our shape is what we call the stroke. So right now it doesn't have, because here, when we come here, you can see that our stroke has been cancelled out by a red line. So if we want to bring it, we click on the word stroke and we come and select the solid color. This is a gradient, this is a radial gradient. We shall be looking at them later, but we have selected the solid color, and when we select it, we press OK. It has already created our stroke. Our stroke is color white. It's of height 1, so we can increase it so that we can see it. And we can also change the color by clicking on it, and we go change the color. We can also increase, and we can go to our star. It doesn't have a stroke yet. We click on stroke and select option solid color, and we can also increase the height of our solid color of our stroke, and we can change the color of our stroke. So it has created a solid color, a stroke around our color, our shape. So you can change the fill color, stroke. You can create different shapes, and all that, like in our previous sessions, all layers have properties. For example, this circle of ours here, if you click on it by using the selection tool, if we down here, down arrow, they transform. If you are, these are the different properties we can use to animate. If you don't know them, you look through my sessions. There's one that explains about the I think it's the one for animation. You can go and learn about them. Then it has other properties. For example, stroke is also a property which can be animated. We are looking at the circle here. So if you want other contents, you come this here. There is what we call add. When I click on add, they bring for me the different contents or properties that can be animated. So you can look through them and play around them. But as we go on to advanced sections, we shall be learning about them. So we are going to use stroke, that the one we have been looking at. We want to animate it. So when you click stroke, when you say add, you see that I've added it here called stroke. When we drop down, it has color, opacity, stroke, and so forth. We are going to use opacity and color to show you. So the stroke width is one which we have been looking here, which is always here, which is 2. Also here is 2. So if I increase it, you can see that on our circle here, the stroke has increased. So I want us to animate it. We're going to first use opacity. From here, opacity should be, let's start our clock, should be 100. When it comes here, our opacity should be 0. Can either put it in here or drag to 0, and it's 0. And when it goes to this section, I want it to come back to 100. So when we animate it, when we preview it, you can see that it goes off and comes back on. So I want also to change the color. Here is the color, and it has a stopwatch, so it means it can be animated. From here, the color, I want to start my stopwatch. From here, I want it to be white. When it comes here, it should still be white. And when it goes here, I want it to be red. So if I animate it, you can see that it comes white, turns to red, comes white, turns to red, white, red. So it can be animated. You can animate opacity, you can animate the stroke, and so forth, and other things that right now we can't look at, but in advanced session we shall be looking at them. So we have created our different shapes. They have different attributes that we can edit them and animate them to come out in a beautiful and nice way. And other sessions, I think we shall be looking at advanced things. So please like my video and subscribe to my channel for more advanced and more videos to come. Thank you. I remain KYKS.